I like that I don't have an intro song or like anything. I just get right into it. And what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Grown Up Podcast, where you already know what we do. We talk about that grown up shit. We celebrate independence through interviews with entrepreneurs, independent individuals who are making a way for themselves in this crazy world. And we also throw that independent music specifically with the Now segment, aka the Naturally on a Wave, so you can catch the wave of these really dope independent artists who are but doing their thing. And sometimes it can feel like they're trying because, you have your setbacks, your ups and downs in your journey. But when it really comes down to it, and the actual narrative and story is that you are doing it, no matter if you're doing it and succeeding and failing, it's all a part of the journey. So we here on the Grown Up Podcast, I want to make sure that everyone knows this is a supportive platform for independence, for entrepreneurship, and for people who are just doing their damn thing. You know what I'm saying? So first and foremost, before I get the episode started, y'all already know I have to thank the listeners and subscribers. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in to every episode. Thank you for listening to my growth, listening to my craziness, to my, my mind can go all kinds of places, especially because, excuse me, that was weird. Especially because this is not a scripted per se podcast. I have like points and notes written down, but nothing like too specific as far as an actual script. So I just do all of this like off of the top of my head, really. And so you guys are here for the ride, for my mind going all over the place, the different types of conversations I have with my friends, the types of conversations I have with myself, with learning and growing, and the ins and outs of this podcast. And so I thank you guys. I appreciate you guys so much, and I love you guys so much, and I wish nothing but the best and blessings for everyone that's listening and tuning in. And I hope that I'm sending you good, positive, and loving energy, and I appreciate y'all. So right now I'm gonna do a little bit of a mid-year reflection, a little bit as far as just the podcast goes and just finding myself within this podcast. And then I'm going to give you guys some reminders. And then after that, we're going to get into the episode. I'm going to let you guys in. If you're following me on social media, which you should be, go to the description below, shameless plug, my website. You guys check that out and y'all can follow me from there. You guys would have seen that I went on a trip. So I'm going to talk a little about that, do a little bit more, reflections and stuff like that. And then I got an interview for y'all. And of course, we're not going to leave without that Naturally on the Wave spotlight artist for this month, who is Swayla, and she is so dope. And please make sure y'all are tuning into the podcast because we did secure an interview. So that means you got to be subscribed, notifications, you know what I mean? We'll get into all that. So let's get into this podcast reflection. So I'm pretty much rounding like midway through my third year of podcasting, rounding the base on that. And it's been a really amazing learning adventure. That's how I would put it. It's been such an up and down experience discovering myself as a podcaster and then as an individual, because it almost goes hand in hand, because this podcast has really evolved me as a person. And then as a podcaster, I've heard my evolution from, episode 1 to now. I mean, of course, minus the voice change and all that stuff. But just meaning like reflection wise and like structure wise and all these things that come with building a podcast. And so, it's been looking back on it, it's it's so interesting because when I first started the podcast, I was very, of course, eager and excited, and I pushed myself to the max. I was pushing out an episode every week. I was trying to come up with different ideas and different ways that I could tweak the podcast, add this, take out that. I was getting suggestions from a few people. Some of them I was taking, some of them I was like, and I was starting to build the podcast, and it really, doing that for a whole year, it burned me out so badly. And then once I came to the conclusion I was going to start transitioning everything in that, because that was knocking at my door as soon as I started the podcast, because I was very insecure about how I looked and how I was perceived and all these things. And, I was all in my head, and I was like, but this is something, and, I knew was hankering on me, and that I knew was weighing me down from being my true self and being able to really truly break free and be the podcaster and person that I want to be. And so when I decided to do that a year into being a podcaster, it was really it was a really interesting experience, because I was transitioning as a person and as a podcaster. And, it was interesting because it was so welcoming. I had started this segment right when I was ending the first year of the podcast. I was going into the second year, and I was trying to implement something different. And by the grace of God, these beautiful individuals who were making amazing music, started the segment. And at that time, I was still kind of going by D as just like a flat line, like precursor to Derek. And I mean, I still get called D, and that's fine. But, that kind of space was very interesting for me. And, the whole pronouns and all these things. And then I'm, trying to come off as, quote unquote masculine or whatever. And it's just like, it's strange, pre-T and like all this stuff. And, when you listen to previous episodes, because obviously all my episodes are on here, you can hear the transition. It was it took a lot on my mental, honestly. It took a lot mentally to push through and stay true and know who I was through it. Because, through not only transitioning as a person on the podcast, but, like I said, as a person in my personal life, at work, in my relationships, I'm like going through all of this at once and still being a podcaster. And it's like I'm building myself through podcasting. And many times I thought like I can't do it. I just can't do it. I can't build this thing that I really, really love, and also like go through this, not put myself through it, but go through this, because I'm not putting myself through this because like this is who I know I am and who I know I've always been. But I guess in a sense it is because I'm choosing like to put myself through this at this time specifically, because there's people who take more time, as far as deciding medically to transition and all this stuff. So, I wanted to do it right away, get things started, like, let's go. And I really treated it almost like a checklist, which is very interesting. Something I heard the other day. I was watching something trying to, get my life together. And I really treated it like a checklist, and it really went so fast that it got away from me, and mentally it made me very much had to reset and figure myself out. But it was through podcasting that I was really able to do that, which was really interesting, because I'm physically transitioning. I'm transitioning in my relationships and things like that. But, I'm also recording episodes, putting them out, and doing interviews with people. And, little hiccups would come in. It's like this person addresses me as my dead name. And what do? Do I, cut this part out in the podcast, or do I just leave it in and say, hey, you're going to hear my dead name and that's that. And that's what it is, and just own that. And I think it's very interesting because, I didn't want to become that kind of angry trans person who was, upset all the time because I didn't understand who I was enough to stand firm and, not waver in the face of negativity. And it was until I started transitioning and realizing that, I would have to choose that. I would have to choose in these moments and situations as I'm transitioning to be angry or to, lash out and things like that. And if I just start to know and understand myself, which, has been such a journey as well, getting into my faith and spirituality and, meditating, finding all these really beautiful ways to relax myself and find peace within myself. And it's a daily thing. It's really actually a minute thing. Like every minute I have to make sure that I'm relaxing, And so, but, once I realized as a grown up, you have to make these choices to feel these things and to, not get into your head so much about this or that, or, it's you, so I had to be like, okay, like, I'm not going to be that person because I can choose differently. And so through this and through choosing different to react differently or not react in certain situations, it's allowed me to really grow through the podcast. And, I do this podcast because I love it so much, and it has been my lifeline, honestly. Like I said, it's really helped me grow as a person personally and as a podcaster. And I just couldn't ask for anything better because for so long I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, what I felt like was really my passion and what I wanted to go for. And when I went back to school and I took a bunch of classes and I discovered podcasting and radio and audio, it just ignited this spark in me that I couldn't resist and I couldn't ignore it. I clung to it like just, it was magnetic, like pew. I don't know. That's the only way I can explain it. And ever since, like, I've just been an audio fanatic, and I don't know if that's a part of like my nature, and that's just kind of like when I get on something, I'm fixated a little bit and I'm passionate about it, but I don't feel that way. Like when I'm not podcasting or when I'm not thinking about podcasting or whatever, I'm not like, I'm going to give it up, or like, if I don't go a while without dropping, or if I go a while without dropping an episode, I'm not like, okay, well, I've went this long, I might as well just keep going and give up. Like, no, it's like, I'm always like, okay, so what am I going to do in order to figure out how to get this next episode in? How am I going to say this and that? How am I going to structure it? I have to bring it back to this and that. And like, I'm thinking creatively, and I'm always like so pumped up about an episode. And I always have ideas flying in my head that I write down in my notes. And like, I know this is it. This is my thing. And so, and I also love talking to people and love connecting with people. And that has been such a beauty to be able to, you know, connect both of those things here, you know, through loving audio and then connecting with people. And then I can put my own podcast out here and connect with people. I mean, it's just been such, you know, an amazing elevation for me. And so going back to, you know, the beginning of my transition with the podcast, that was really a tough time. But I really had faith, and God really brought me through, because even when, you know, I had times of mental turmoil, of physical turmoil, because, you know, I couldn't look in the mirror. I didn't like what I saw. Emotional turmoil, because now I'm starting to take hormones that are changing me in ways that obviously are unexpected, and I just have to go with it. And, you know, it was a lot, but I'm still in that podcaster creative. Like, I still have to make sure that I'm catering to this thing that I love to do. And it kept pulling me to stand up, in a sense, because, you know, if I didn't have podcasting, I would just succumb to all of my ideas and my thoughts in my head. And you know, and I don't think that I would be, you know, I would build myself to be strong to continue to keep fighting. I really think that, you know, podcasting has been my gloves. You know, when I come in this office and I get on this microphone, it's like I put gloves on and I'm punching and I'm continuing to fight. And that's what, you know, the embodiment of this podcast is. It's grown up. As a grown up, every day we get up and we continue to fight through life and, you know, try and be the best versions of ourselves. And, you know, with podcasting, it really allows me and helps me be the best version of myself. And honestly, if I really think about it and sit down and think about it, it's just an elevation and extension from falling in love with poetry. And poetry was kind of my first introduction to myself, because through poetry, for me, it was an outlet of understanding my emotions and how I was feeling. And, you know, I constantly go back and I read the poems that I wrote as a kid, and I'm just like, wow, like, I felt deeply, you know, I felt deeply, but I said nothing. I felt deeply, but I said nothing. And I wrote it all in poems. You know, and I can really understand myself when I go back and I read my poetry that I wrote as a kid. And, you know, I hope that I'm able to continue keeping all my stuff in one spot so that I can you know, keep my poems, and hopefully one day when I have kids, show them, you know, and that would be so cool. But I really, like I said, I think it's just podcasting is an elevation or extension from that, you know, from being a person who feels, and being able to put it onto paper, and now discovering audio and this passion and fire for it, and then kind of translating that from writing poetry to kind of speaking poetically, you know, my experience, you know, my perspective. And you know, that's crazy. I literally just am thinking of all of this right now, but, you know, and it's just, it's beautiful to me, and I hope it's beautiful to you. You know, I hope that you guys are also going through your own beautiful experiences through understanding yourself and finding your passion that you love and finding yourself through this passion. I think it's something beautiful within that, you know, and also being able to go through my transition, you know, kind of privately-ish, personally-ish to myself, has also, excuse me, helped with going through this podcasting journey. And yeah, I mean, now I'm just really balancing it all, you know, balancing being a podcaster, being a better podcaster, being a better person. And, you know, now that my transition is kind of settling in, the hormones are kind of settling and balancing a little. I'm really able to gain a lot of clarity and reflecting a lot. And that's kind of where the title of this episode comes from, which is alignment. And it's something that I've really been coming into. And I'm going to talk about that after I give you these reminders, and we'll head into the episode. I know you're like, what? 20 minutes of you talking about reflections? Hello, what you thought reflections was? But yeah, that's my kind of mid-year reflection. You know, I hope that you guys have heard the progress through the years and from episode 1 to now. And, you know, you guys email me and let me know what you guys have heard as far as change and improvement. And yeah, I appreciate y'all. So reminders. Okay, reminders are, go to the description below because there will be links everywhere. You guys, my website link will be below. Everything for Swayla will be below. Everything for from the interview I did with an individual. He's really, really good guy. We had a great conversation. His links will be below for you to check him out. And please, please, please go check out E3 Radio. Your boy, he be working hard. Okay, so not only is he a podcaster, but he's a radio person. I realize I'm referring to myself in the, what is that? You know what? I'm not going to embarrass myself with school right now, but yeah, so your boy is also a part of the radio station, so please go and check out E3 Radio. That link will be in the description below as well. And Grown Up Podcast is still a part of That's Not Canon, so go check out that'snotcanon.com. And Grown Up Podcast is also a part of the Cube app. I know, crazy, right? So all of those links will be in the description below for you to check out Grown Up Podcast. I'm literally just so grateful and blessed that all of these beautiful and wonderful things are happening for the podcast. And I just couldn't be more thankful for the individuals that I've connected with. It means a lot, and it means a lot that you guys see the potential in me and you know, see that I can do good things, you know, even great things if I put my mind to it. So, but yeah, you guys, those are reminders. Go below to the description, check out all these links, and please, please, please go rate your boy. Okay, y'all, go to whatever app that you're listening to the Grown Up Podcast. Please leave a rating. Okay, that's how the peoples know how to tune into the Grown Up Podcast. Okay, not just you listening, but you have to also rate, you know, and review. And even if it's a not so good review, that's okay. I still love you, and I still hope the best for you, and I still wish you blessings. But please put a rating. Please, I would love you. I would love for you to please put a rate and review. Okay. All right. So now that we got all that out the way, 24 minutes of that, let's get into the actual episode. Okay. So y'all, I took a trip to a bees. No, I was playing. I don't even know what that is on the map. But anyways, no, I did take a trip though. It was a lovely trip and an incredible experience. It almost feels like it didn't happen. Like I could cry right now, literally thinking about it, because it was such a moment. Shout out to the entire Fat Ham cast, and especially, of course, shout out to my big brother. He killed it. I know I'm jumping ahead of myself, but so I took a trip to New York. And why did I take a trip to New York? Well, I'll tell you. The mission was not only was I going to spend time with my brother after he did the calculations, 5 years. 5 years of not seeing each other, or not like seeing each. I mean, we FaceTime, don't get me wrong, but meaning just like physically spending brother to brother time. So that was part of the mission. Sorry, my mind kind of had a brain fart. So that was part of the mission. Part one of the mission was to go and spend time with my brother that I haven't spent time with in a while. And the second part of the mission was to go and see him on Broadway. Something that he's been working so hard. Well, I wouldn't say Broadway specifically, but he has been working so hard in his acting career for so long. And that is, Broadway is definitely a highlight in your journey if you are an actor who is into theater and things like that. So that's his acting lane, is lots of theater. And so I've always supported him, and it's been incredible to see him act and just be up there doing his thing. And so Broadway, of course, was wow. And that was the mission. So the mission was go spend time with my brother and to go and see him do his thing on Broadway, on fucking Broadway. So flew out there. Shout out to the Sirens. Thank you very much. Really want to move to a quieter place, y'all. I'm trying to, can y'all give me suggestions of quiet places to move to? Anyways, so that was the mission, to go out there and see my bro and to spend some time and then see him on Broadway. So I flew out, got there. It was a lot of walking. Lots and lots of walking there. Lots of walking that I don't do at home, which I need to start doing. I realized a lot of things about myself, and that's why this episode is titled what it is, because I really knew, like, my alignment was like, radar was like going off, like, dude, you need to get it together. Lots of walking. I was sweating a lot. Not only because I think that's just what I do, but also, I'm 240, so it's like, like I can't really help it. So had to like keep a freaking sweat towel on me the whole time. But it was dope, man. Just spending time with my brother. We was chilling, you know what I'm saying? And it was a time for sure. I didn't really go much of anywhere. Not only because it was a lot of walking to do, but also because I took it as a little bit of a mini vacation. So when I take a vacation, I like to take advantage of sleeping, because I don't get a lot of that at home, because I'm constantly working either at my regular job that I have to physically drive to, or here podcasting, whatever, So I took advantage of sleeping. I ain't gonna front y'all. I slept a lot. Like I was not out there in them streets. Only time I was out there in them streets was, excuse me, to go to the smoke shop to get me some tree. and to go get me some food. And that was it. I was back at the crib and some water. I had to stay hydrated. But I was back at the crib. Other than that, trying to get me them Z's. But my brother, he's dope. We spent some good time together, and then finally came the day that I was able to see the play. Grace of God, I managed to be able to get to see it twice. I got to see it the day before was the final closing day for it, and then I got to see the final closing show, and it's just a beautiful play, you guys. The final day, I heard someone say that fucking Melissa McCarthy was there and cried. You guys, fucking Melissa. Now, whether it was true or not, I 100% believe it's true, because why would they lie? But Melissa McCarthy was there and cried at this beautiful, beautiful play. So that just lets y'all know not only how proud I am of him, how amazing the show was, but just all in all, incredible cast, incredible people. And yeah, if you didn't see it, obviously you didn't catch it, I know it's coming back. It's got to. It's such a beautiful play, such a amazing actors, of course, and actresses, and it just, I can't even describe it, because the play is really a feeling. Like when you watch it, you just get this feeling, it's not, you can't really describe what goes on and what happens, and like all, it's really, you have to watch it and you feel. And it was so beautiful. And of course, shout out to my brother. He did his thing, and y'all already know who my bro is. He happens to also be East O, who's been on the podcast, you know what I'm saying? And so, I'm just proud of him. He's always been a motivation for me as far as just doing my own thing and finding myself and discovering myself, and not letting this or that get to me in my life. And he's always definitely just kept me headstrong as far as doing what I know is best for me, and standing firm in that. And so and he really left me with a lot of that there, when we talked and hung out and stuff. And so, that's really what got me to, like I said, the title of this episode of Alignment, is because, through him being there, and I was asking all kinds of crazy questions, and he just sitting with me and taking the time to take space, and allowing me to take space more so, and just, offering me the words of encouragement, and also just seeing another human being who was also another human being going through life, and the realities of being in such a big moment, and then also like having an unknown but being okay with that after, and like all this stuff, and it's just, he's always been such a dope dude, a dope soul, and super appreciate him. And I know is some beautiful things in the works coming for him. So that was my trip. I was there for about 4 days, and then I flew back out, and now I'm back home. Came back home, touched down, went right back at it to work, the next day. So it was like I never left, hopped right back into routine. But I did reflect a lot, and come to the conclusion of what I needed to do as far as getting myself together and figuring out how I want to move forward, because I have other things that are in the works and that I'm trying to get into. And I know it already seems like I have a lot on my plate, but being able to be resilient through, the tough times. I know that this is, even having all this stuff on my plate is not going to hold me down or hold me back, because I know who I am and I know what I want to do in this life, and I know, what I want to accomplish. So, I'm just going head forward and staying strong and true to myself. And, it's been a journey, y'all. And being a grown up is crazy, for real. Because doing all that shit and then like having to pay bills and fucking, y'all, oh my gosh. Some days I just be so beat. I'll just lay in the bed. Like, I would just lay in the bed, and part of it is because I know that I need a new environment and I need somewhere that will make me feel like I want to go outside. Because it's not some places you just need to feel like, like you just, like, I don't know. That's me. But, but yeah, that was my trip to New York. It was a beautiful time. I mean, I forgot to tell y'all I did go to the after party and the after party, but all that aside, it was really more just about experiencing beautiful souls and, beautiful people who love doing what they love to do. And it was really incredible to talk to all these different kinds of people, and I talked to just actors and filmmakers, and it was just such an experience, and I'll make a little mini post about it, and I'll post just a little trip video thing to Instagram, but I really, all in all, I took pictures and videos for myself, because I don't really take a lot of pictures and videos. And when I do take pictures and videos, I take them for me. And that's just not selfish, I guess, because I don't really take pictures and videos and stuff for social media. I take it for me, because I want to capture that memory for myself. And I feel like social media nowadays makes you feel like you have to post everything that you're doing. You have to, if you didn't post, it didn't happen. It's like, no, like, I was there. I real life experienced it. So like, I don't need to take a picture and post that I did it, but I will. So here, but anyways, but that's just one of the things, like I was talking to my brother about, just like being present, like not worrying about this and that and in the moment, and just being there, being present, and like, it was so cool. When I first got there, we popped the champagne and celebrated just being present with each other, and we was present. It was a good moment, so yeah, I just encourage y'all to be present with your peoples and love on them and appreciate them and celebrate them, because they're just beautiful souls. Everybody has beauty in them, and we should love on that beauty and water that beauty and watch it grow and flourish, and cherish it, because it's tough out here, for real. All right, so moving on, what does the second part of this title mean? Being the glue. We gonna find that out after this break. Aye. What's good, y'all? Welcome back. Yay! I know I've been talking a lot, but it really feels good to get back to talking a lot. It feels good to get back to getting all of this off my chest, and I really feel like so comfortable, really, honestly. I'm just going, y'all, for real. Like, none of this is written down, I promise you. I promise you, none of it is written down. But anyways, so we got a long one for y'all, and I'm gonna be honest. I kind of like it long. I kind of want to keep it like this for a minute. Some of y'all, I got some feedback saying that y'all kind of missed me, kind of giving my perspective and talking about that grown up shit. And I know for a while I was dropping lots and lots of interviews, and also that was because transitioning, I was trying to adapt and figure out different ways that I can still drop episodes with the podcast without putting too much pressure and strain on myself. And the best way that I knew that I could do that was through booking interviews, doing interviews, and then being able to only have to edit it and drop it. So, now that I'm, learning and going through this and getting the feedback, I think, incorporating it all, after you guys been listening to 30 minutes or so for a minute, I think tying it together and putting together something nice for y'all is dope. So, and it's just coming off the top of my head. So, y'all let me know what y'all think about this. So anyways, we gonna get into the second part of this title called Being the Glue. And what does that mean? And how can we start to understand that for self? And I'm only saying from my experience, I only talk from my experience and my perspective. And y'all may or may not hear the lawnmower guy peoples in the back. So if you do, I may or may not keep it in, or I may or may not pause and then start again when they leave. So we'll see how this goes. But anyway, so like I was saying, I always share from my perspective, this is from me. I'm not an expert or nothing like that. I'm just a person living life and doing my grown up shit. So for me, like the latest discoveries that I've figured out about myself, and trying to not only be a better person every day throughout these discoveries, but also kind of shed some enlightenment out there in hopes that other people are reflecting maybe in the same way, and then we can connect. But I was just thinking just about my life and how I've evolved from as a kid, I really was talking to everyone. I went through foster care, and I moved around a lot as a kid, and so I was pretty much forced to adapt quite a lot as a kid. And but I did, I had so many different kinds of friends, and I had all these different kinds of accolades I would achieve through just trying everything and going for every opportunity, and just trying to be everywhere and do everything. And as I think you guys have learned throughout my evolution here on the podcast. And so, I was just thinking about who I am as a person, and then reflecting as far as where in all these different areas that I kind of do the same thing, but depending on the environment, it'll be either more or less, and so like in my work environment, it's kind of less, because in my work environment, I don't play with that shit. Okay. I have certain boundaries and things that I set up. I'm not friends with people at work. I don't eat where I shit, I don't date nobody if I'm working with. I very much keep work because I don't want mess and drama. And, that's how I keep my peace, is by for sure setting my boundaries in the workplace. That's just that. Okay. That's that. And I mean, not saying that there aren't good or great friends that could come from work. And maybe I'm excluding myself from a relationship like that, that could be beneficial for myself, and I have to reflect on that a little bit within myself. But for now, that's just how I feel. So we'll see if this is something that elevates into something different. But anyways, but like, you know, even in having those boundaries set at work, I'm still like a very, like, I bring good energy, and, you know, I'm talking to everyone still, and I'm still like bringing light into the environment, and that's just like my adaptability. You know, I'm like, hey, you know, and everyone's like, oh, what's up? And, you know, everyone's, you know, good and happy, trying to make everyone good, happy, and light, you know, and that just kind of is how I am, and how I translate in every part of my life. And sometimes it doesn't go over so well in every part of my life, i.e. my like relationships, because we're, you know, two different people and coming from two different places in life, or in our, I mean, from like, you know, from our, in life. And, you know, as we're still continuously getting to know each other, some days I'll be off, some days they'll be off. And so, you know, that's something I struggle with. Definitely relationships. And so, but I was just thinking about, you know, who I am as a person, and then thinking about other people, who they are, you know, and how they reflect in life, and what types of souls that, you know, they reach out to, and things like that. And I was just thinking, like, through connecting so much and collaborating, like people who are collaborators and stuff, and like, and listening to podcasters who are, you know, doing interviews with other individuals who are like having their own independent things and stuff like that. It's just like, I was just thinking, like, we're the glue to each other's lives, you know, like some connections that you come upon in life, like, could be lifelong, and some could be like really great for that very moment because you're seeking something that you really need to satisfy in that moment or whatever. And it's just like, we don't know it, but we end up kind of being the glue for, you know, if we really take the time to like reflect, we really end up being kind of the glue to connecting in different spaces. And I have like conversations at work all the time with coworkers and stuff of just like sometimes really deep shit for no reason, but it's really cool because sometimes I'll just say shit and it'll just like, I can see in that other person that's just like, aha, like I've never thought about it like that, or, you know, or something like that. And it's just like, oh, like, cool. Like I could be some type of glue to a different type of thought process, to a different type of feeling for something, or a different type of perspective to look at. And we're all just kind of something similar to that. We're all just kind of a type of glue to a different type of thinking, thought process and connection, stuff like that. And some glue isn't the best and it sticks for too long. And, you know, we have to figure out how to glue something else that'll take that, you know, not so good connection and connect it to a different perspective that'll allow it to be to go in a different path. And then that's kind of how, you know, a different perspective begins to be formed, because we decide to lend that, you know, that time to get that thought out, rather than you know, not speaking to that person because of who they are, because of who they love, because of who they work for, because of et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and putting all these negative things on people because it just loses the connection of human beings, And so, and this, like I said, I'm just reflecting like myself and hoping that it kind of makes sense and maybe helps you kind of reflect in a way that, will get you thinking in your life. But that's kind of what I was just thinking about myself when I was just trying to figure out, discovering myself and understanding like all of these ups and downs that I've gone through in my life and all of these elevations that I'm having as a person, and coming into alignment right now of really coming into myself emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, and I'm really finding such a peace within myself, and it's nothing that has to be like displayed on social media or displayed to everyone in the world, but I'm happy and content that I'm doing it with my podcast. Like, of course I could fucking be trying to apply and manifest a corporate job or whatever that will pay me so much fucking money to just get out all of my skill or utilize all my skills that I've acquired like all the this whole time or whatever. But what really gives me joy and happiness and growth is doing this podcast and making it mine. And so and that's my glue for the world, because I hope that my podcast does reach the people in the ears that it needs to, and so that hopefully some perspectives can get changed or just redirected a little. And yeah, I appreciate you guys for listening to me rant and rave and go all over the place and stuff like that. But that's all I really wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about alignment being the glue, and especially being the glue to this interview that I'm going to introduce to you guys, because he was such a great individual, and I believe that the higher power has really steered this podcast to the most wonderful individuals. And I really feel the energy from these people that I'm interviewing and connecting with, and that I just know that that's me aligning with myself and me knowing, a little bit of my purpose of who I am. And so, yeah, so this beautiful individual that I interviewed, he's an amazing guy. He's an independent entrepreneur. He started his own company and he has been thriving. I'm so happy that I got to connect with him. It's a nice chunky long interview. So like I said, these episodes are going to be a little bit longer and y'all needs to stick around. Okay. So we're going to take a little break right now, and we're going to get into the interview. And then of course, right after that, to end us, to take us out of here, we're going to have that Natural and Aware Spotlight artist, Swayla, take us out. And I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. We'll be right back. All right, let's get it. Today is one of those days we are celebrating and highlighting someone. He's an amazing guy. I'm so happy that he found me and I'm able to connect with him. So without further ado, I'm not going to do too much talking. I'm going to let him come in and say something. Please welcome Peter Schroeder, you guys. He is DJ turned CEO. How you doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me on here. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Awesome. I'm so excited that you're here. Reading your profile and everything, of course, I have to do my research. I was like, Wow, this guy's incredible. So let's just hop right into it. Okay.
Sure.
Give us a brief background on what led you down your radio path first. We're going to talk about that first.
Okay. So I've always been interested in anything media,
Nice.
in general, just, entertainment industry has always been interesting to me. I grew up with parents that are musicians and,
Nice.
So, it's kind of in my blood. But I think, so actually what got me into radio, I was really young. I was probably like, I think 11 years old when I was a regular reporter for like a children's show on Danish TV and radio. Well, it started with radio, then later TV. But so I've always been really interested in that, and I kind of got thrown into it because I was just playing around and doing some movie stuff with my friends, recording for fun in our spare time, and in some way a local newspaper picked up and wrote a story about it, and then all of a sudden some radio show in Denmark, like a national radio show, made a story about it. And they apparently liked me, so they invited me in to be a regular reporter, and I actually go out and interview other kids around the country. So I did that for a while, and then that led to TV from there, like basically the same thing. So I started really young. Yeah.
Wow. So you started really young, and pretty much everything like media, that is really, really, really dope. Wow. So, okay. So I'm assuming that the radio and the TV and DJing, that all just kind of like mixed together and just became this beautiful blend for you, right? And that was your first steps. So how did that turn out?
It's funny because I get that question a lot, and it just happens. For me, things just one thing leads to the other, and I'm very much on board with just, trying things out and doing I'm like Pippi Longstocking, he says this thing, I've never done that before, so I'm sure I'm good at it. Yeah,
that's beautiful. That's really awesome. I'm glad we connected because I'm the same. I'm definitely like that. I'm into everything. Everyone's like, what do you do? I'm like, I actually have a long list. Do you have time?
Yeah, so, it's got some things,
Exactly. Yeah. It's too much to do in this world. We only get one life. Why not try everything? Everything is an opportunity. So I really love that about your spirit. So what inspired your career path going from radio host to DJ to now successful tech entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, so that's the funny thing is I've always had kind of two parallel careers, if you will, paths, I would almost say, because I've always been interested in tech and computers as well. I, from a very young age, played around with computers. My granddad brought electronics home. He was a telecom engineer. He brought things home from work and I could take apart and put back together. Nice. So I've always been interested in that. And when I was 14, I started a website, that somehow grew to become the biggest community for artists in Scandinavia. So that was my first tech thing, right? And that I sold when I was 18. So that was right when I started getting more and more gigs as a club DJ, actually being allowed legally in the nightclub, and DJ there. So, and I kind of, was over, that other project. So I sold that and pursued the music for a while. But even while I was doing music, I was still writing my own plugins to produce my music. I was still, writing software to manage, the artists that I had on my record label when I had that later on. Mm-hmm. So these two kind of, different things have always been very, happening at the same time, even though I haven't necessarily focused on it. It's always kind of been lingering, right?
Right. Yeah.
Even when I was, starting my current company, Telzio, I was actually doing another project, where I was building some software for managing, promoting music between, artists and record labels and DJs and radio stations, to distribute in a fair way.
Yeah.
So I was always doing things on both sides, even though I weren't necessarily 100% focused on those things.
Right. I want to pick your brains just a bit right here with this, because that was such a beautiful story of how you're really coming into yourself. How was your support system? I mean, clearly it's strong for you to be able to pursue all of these things that you've been pursuing since a very young age. So how has that been for you? And seemingly that you've had to kind of grow up, it seems like pretty fast, because you're just into everything. And so you're just growing very, very rapidly. And so how has that been for you as well?
That's interesting. I would say, my mother was always really good. I grew up with a single mother, and she was very good at making sure, that she could support me as much as possible. But at the same time, also tried to kind of, hold me back to not, let it just run wild. And, she definitely has some struggles with some of the things I did. Like, should she allow me to be on national TV every week, There's definitely some debating there going on. Yeah. I know, she told me later on, but she was really good at making sure that, she could support me as much as possible. But at the same time, I've always kind of been, an underdog. I've never been, the one that's good at sports, or, the good looking kid or the popular ones. I've always had to kind of, from I was a kid, kind of figure out other ways, to, make myself relevant, if you can say it that way. Right. And even, growing up and becoming a DJ, and I wasn't ever the best, and I always had to kind of prove myself, but I was the one that put in the most labor. I've always been a freaking, going for it.
A machine.
And I'm extremely stubborn. So when someone tells me I can't do something, I'm going to show them that I definitely can. So I think that's really the thing, for me at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I literally have the same energy, and I can feel that through the computer. It's crazy. I can feel your energy of all these words that you're saying that are very true of yourself. And so I'm very blessed and to be able to connect with you today. That's really, really dope. So moving on to my next question here, the tech industry is massive. So how were you able to get your foot in the door, so to speak, when it came to you switching gears here and coming pretty much, I mean, I know you said you kind of did it side and side with the music industry and tech, but I mean, that's a whole switch, really. You have a whole company, so.
I'm incredibly naive and stubborn. So, and I say that very, very purposefully. I feel like I'm naive in the way that, kind of like what I said earlier about Pippi Longstocking. I've never done that before, so I'm sure I'm good at it. I'm like, who I would almost say is dumb enough to go out and start a phone company, a phone service provider that will compete against AT&T and T-Mobile and these big multinational corporations, and do it by bootstrapping and cashing in your wife's 401k and not taking any investments. Like, you gotta be really naive to do that, which I feel like I was. It's a good idea. I knew I was, we have some software that we built that we were onto something, right? So, and then being incredibly stubborn on top of it, so when investors tell you no, then we're like, okay, then I'll just show you I can do it without you.
That's right.
that's been my whole thing. And I've never had anything handed for me, like I said earlier, growing up with a single mom, and I had to fight for it, and I will. So I feel like, it's definitely been challenging, especially in the beginning, grinding and trying to figure out how do we pay the next rent check, and, at the same time, how can we grow the company as much as possible, as fast as possible. So for the first many years, it was definitely a struggle to try and get to the point where we could hire even our first employee, and have a little office so we didn't have to sit in our bedroom and work every day. That took a long time. I mean, we've been doing this for 10 years, and it's not until the last few years that we really started to see the spike. But we definitely took the long way. There's no doubt.
I mean, honestly, that's very important to note, because, success doesn't really come overnight, essentially. And so you really have to put in a lot of that work. And that's one of the things that I make note on this podcast is that, yes, like I'm going on my 4th year, but you have to put in the time and the work. And I also have to remind myself that like the same thing. I'm going into the 4th year. It may not be millions and millions of streams just yet, but if I stay consistent and I keep putting in the work, then the results will show. So that's very important, very important. So let's talk about your company. It's called Telzio. Did I say that right? Okay. All right. So let's talk about Telzio. What exactly is it? You said it's a telephone company. So give us small, brief detail as far as the people can tell. And then how were you able to find a market that you could supply your product to?
So, Telzio is, if you really boil it down, a phone service provider for businesses. So business to business, provider. We, have this, solution that's very easy to manage and set up, where you can go on and, within a few clicks have a phone service, or a phone system, complete with queues and phone menus and everything, texting and all that stuff that you need for a business.
Right.
And it really started out because I needed it for the other project I was talking about that needed a phone service. It needed like a menu that sounded somewhat professional when people called. I couldn't find anything out of the box. So I was like, okay, I'll just make it myself then.
I love that. Love that.
so that was really it. I mean, then I found out that, okay, this is actually fun. So let's keep going. And that ended up being a real product and people started signing up. So that's the short story, and it started out really small, like very few features and then it kind of grew from there. So as I said earlier, if you boil it down, that's what it is. But there are so many more things to it today that we've kind of built over the years. And, as we added more features over the years, we started appealing to larger and larger companies as well. So we started all of a sudden, now Facebook signed up. Now Google signed up. These little wins along the way have been fun. But, market wise, I mean, that's the good thing about what we're in, because when people ask us, okay, so what's your target customer? What's your ideal customer? Well, I mean, a business that needs to communicate with their customers. That's really it. I mean, that's a lot of businesses that need to talk to their customers, right? Yeah. It's a big market. And that's obviously also why we're able to carve out some market share, in a place that's dominated by huge, multinational corporations, right? They have billions of dollars they spend on marketing. We've never spent a single dollar on advertising, for example. So
love that. You seem like a guy who just jumps in the massiveness and you're just like, I'm going to create my own thing. Hello world. And, everything and everyone gravitates towards that type of energy, that type of uniqueness, that type of, individual who is doing their own thing. And so really love that you're here. I love that your company is flourishing and now seeing and reaping the benefits of everything that you're sowing. So what sets your company Telzio apart from competitors in the market?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to a few things. It's probably the main thing is really that we are product first. We've always been product customer first. We've never been about, like I said, we've never spent a dollar on advertising. It's about for us to create a product that just really works for our customers, that has the things they need, that doesn't go down, that has, the security, everything, that we have a good product. Rather than trying to sell as much as possible and just screw over as many people as we can and lock them into some long contracts and then we can make some money. I mean, from a business point of view, that's probably not a great tactic. The way we've gone, you could probably make a lot more money in a different way. But at the other hand, we really just do it because we like what we do. We build cool stuff, and that's really what drives us. Everyone on the team. And then, besides that, we have a little different angle in terms of we have some features. It's easier to use. It's more stable, all these different things. And then at the same time, we build differently. We, instead of, charging this like flat fee per user, and you pay for everyone who's not making any calls or texting or using it, but you still have to pay for them. We just charge for the usage. So that's, always been our angle. But again, that comes down to, let's try and be fair. Let's try and be the good guys in this market dominated by companies that really rate the worst in terms of customer service and these things. I mean, our industry has a bad reputation, and we try to be different.
Yeah, I can feel that difference. And I feel like that is what, makes you special, makes you stand out, and makes, like I said, those gravitate towards your, uniqueness, as I was saying, as far as your company. That's what gravitates people towards it. You have these little intricate things that are just different, and they're you. It's not like you said, a made up thing, or just trying to get money from people, or like all these things. It's genuine. It's from the heart. It's something that, of course, you wanted for yourself. So why not try and capitalize, and knowing that other people may want that as well. And, it's happening. So that's really great.
You know what? And it's interesting because, like I said earlier, we never took VC money or anything like that. And at that time, it was, of course, a blow. Why is no one wanting to invest in us when we see all these kids that get $100 million overnight with a product they haven't even released yet? Today, when I look back at that, that sucked at that time, but it's probably the biggest blessing because we are 100% in control with what we do today, and our customers love it. So,
yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great point to make. And I would love to kind of dig in a little with that, as far as just how did you get through that part right there? Because I know I have a ton of days like that where I'm like, is anyone even listening? Is it? And I'm asking them, like, reach out, email, DM me, and crickets. But, people do tune in, and I see the numbers go up. So what were you saying to yourself, or, maybe you and your wife had, or talks and stuff like that, just to get you through that point?
So it's definitely tough at the time, because you really want to grow. You really want to expand as fast as possible because it's fun what you're doing. So, and you need money to do that. There's no doubt, we overcome by just, let's just keep doing what we're doing. And our growth have been very steady over the years. And as we have gotten more customers, we also get, of course, more money to put into marketing and try to optimize, for example, SEO and our on-site and everything we can do with a small budget. And that obviously accelerates over the years and it starts going faster and faster. You get more and more customers. You get, word of mouth is our biggest contributor to our growth. Right. So, and that comes back to that we have a good product people want to tell their friends about. So I think really just being persistent and stubborn enough to keep going and see these little things. Like it's not like it's going down. That's the thing. You got to remind yourself you're still growing. You might not be growing as fast as you want, but you're still growing.
That's right.
And you got to remember that there's a big difference between the people that raise money in Silicon Valley and start a company and sell it after 2 years, and then what most other people do. You don't have to go that route. And what they do, they raise money for a living. That's all they do. They can't do what you're doing. They can't build your product. They can raise some money and they can try and hire some people and tell them what to do. And hopefully it will work, which 90% of the time doesn't. And then the investors lost their money and that's it. You never hear about that part. Right. But most people don't, you gotta remind yourself that you're not, that's not all people. That's not the only way.
Right. You gotta kind of go the extra mile with thinking, as far as when you're going into your creative space and entrepreneurial space, you have to think that extra mile is kind of what you're saying a little bit. Yeah. So definitely. I appreciate that. And I'm going to take some of those words as well. So my next question is, what's the biggest challenge you've had to face being new to entrepreneurship, and how did you overcome it?
There's definitely a lot I've learned over the years, for sure. I'm not a business guy. I'm a creative engineer is what I call myself. I like creating stuff. I'm creative in terms of music. Also, actually went to school for graphic design, ended up doing that. And so I'm very creative, and I'm also very much an engineer by heart. My mom, when she wasn't allowed to go play with a symphony orchestra that she was invited in to play for, because my dad, my grandfather, her dad, wouldn't allow her. She needed a real job. She went to become an engineer instead. So I've had this, these two very different things at the same time, very, intertwined for me.
Yeah.
So I'm not a business guy. I've learned business over the years, and I know most things about how you run a business now, but I've also done it for a long time. And I think some of the the things I've really had to learn over the years is how to manage. I don't like managing people. I don't like, not even micromanaging, but I don't like managing at all. I would rather not have to tell anyone what to do, and they just instead read my brain and just go do it instead. That would be way easier. So that's something I've had to learn over the years, that people apparently can't read my mind yet. So.
I think we're such similar. I'm the same way. I'm definitely the same way. I don't like managing people either, and I've only had like one supervisor job so far, and it was very hectic. Of course, the paperwork and everything, but like you said, just I would like people to read my mind and just, you know. but then the good thing is you can actually find people that are good and like doing it and are actually good at doing it. Right.
So it's about finding those people and getting those on your team.
Yeah, exactly. Getting those type of people who can soak up information easily and be able to get things flowing the way that you think of it in your mind. Yeah, so exactly. Yeah. And that's why we're all here on this earth, and we can find each other and connect and learn how to grow together and figure out whose strengths work here and whose strengths work there. And so, yeah, I love that. Really, really love that. So, now switch gears. What's the biggest lesson you've learned in your career, and how did it shape your mindset moving forward through time?
I think one of the biggest things, at least life-changing, game-changing for me, was when I found out that I have ADD. That wasn't a thing when I was growing up. That you knew about ADHD, and that was the kids, they crawled backwards up the walls and couldn't sit still. That was not me. I could sit still, and I was always told at parent-teacher conference that hey, he's very smart, but he doesn't work and do the things we ask him when he's not interested in it. I got good grades, but I stopped doing homeworks at some point, completely, because I just wasn't interested in doing it. Wow. And that's very ADD. That's, you are really, really, really good at the things you're interested in and can really hone down on those things. And the other things you just don't get done. And I didn't know that about myself. I was always told, well, he's just lazy, but I'm not lazy. I work 14, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, my whole life. So that didn't really fit into that he's lazy thing. But that was kind of what I was told when I was a kid. And I didn't find out until maybe 4 or 5 years ago that there's actually a word for this thing. Wow. And knowing that and learning about it and understanding that there's actually something you can deal with, and there are something. A lot of these different tricks that they say you can use to kind of overcome it. I was always already doing, that I've just kind of over the years found out. But learning about that was probably one of the biggest things. And that's something, understanding that has really helped me in my career and running a business.
Wow. That's really, really interesting, and something that's not a lot of people take that in stride, or at least just finding out something about themselves that, they, like I said, like you were saying, thought something different of a long time, and then finally putting a word to that. And now you're kind of taking it in stride. That's very, very courageous of you. And I commend you for sure for that. Well,
the way I see it is, I don't see it as a negative thing at all. It's not. It's. I wouldn't even call it a condition per se. Like it's just a way my brain is wired. Is that I have a hard time focusing on things I'm not interested in, but the things I'm actually interested in, I will hyper focus on, and that means that I get really, 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 really good at things. At certain things, right? So, that's something that has for sure helped me over the years become really good at certain things that have led to where I am today. So I see it as a superpower. It's different. You just got to understand that about yourself. How does that work? And a lot of people have ADD. I think it's like 5 to 7% of the population that they say that it to some degree. I have raging ADD, maybe not as much as most people. Like I probably have a lot more, but a lot of people have it. And it's not something to, you shouldn't see that as a bad thing. You just got to understand how to deal with it.
Yeah, I love your positivity. It's super like oozing, and I love it. It's so great. So that's beautiful. My next question is, what does leadership mean to you, and what qualities do you think are essential to being a great leader?
So that kind of goes a little bit back to the managing thing, because I feel like a lot of people, and including myself, have been confusing managing with leading. Being a leader is not the same as being a manager. And that's something that I have learned also fairly recent, or had to get into my mind and get in the mindset. You don't have to be a manager to be a leader. A leader is someone who can, has a vision and can get other people on board with executing that vision. That's really it. That's what it boils down to. Is you have some kind of vision for something you want to achieve, and you're able to almost talk other people into it, but your enthusiasm for this vision, rubs off of people around you, and you're able to get more people to follow that. And that can be anything really, good or bad, but that's what a leader is to me. There's someone who's able to lead other people in create greatness, really. And that's not the same as a manager. Manager is someone who manages someone who tells people what to do. That's not what a leader does. You don't tell people what to do. You share their vision and make sure and try to get people, share that vision with you and get on board with it. And that's very different.
That is beautifully said. Thank you so much for sharing that. I don't think, like you said, a lot of people, it's hard to decipher these things. And I think one of the biggest things is titles, because a title of manager is in the workforce. It kind of gives this whole different, perspective to this person. And something that I was saying is if they're not in tune with their self before they get into this type of title, then it kind of enhances, an ego that is inside of them, and it makes this position worse. And now the people that are working under them feel terrible working for this person because, their ego is so inflated that they can't see that these people are people as well. So, super appreciate your words. Beautifully said. So as we're wrapping up here, you're such an amazing guy. I want to throw in a little gem in here. You also have twins. So how is it being a dad to twins? And I'm not sure how old they are. So how is that managing fatherhood with entrepreneurship?
That's hard. They're a year and a half. So
okay. So very fresh. But how has that been?
Oh, it's great. I never thought myself as someone who would be a dad, and never. I'm almost 40, so it's also kind of late in my life.
That's very
at least compared to some people, right? But
you're young. Stop.
I love it. They're so much fun, and I just found this love for other humans that I've never experienced before in my life. It's awesome. You can't explain it if you don't until you try it. It's just like this crazy unconditional thing that and these two little things that are running around and saying baba, waking up in the morning, just opening your eyes and this face is right in your just with wide open eyes, like good morning. I love it. It's so great.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So time management has been maybe a little hectic for about a year. I'm assuming. And the thing is, I still have to work a lot, and I try. I'm always up in the morning very early with them and getting them breakfast and at least having an hour or 2 hours with them in the morning, and then I try to be home before their bedtime, which is usually happening at least 5-6 days a week. And I try to now take my weekends off to try and just be a dad, but. It's definitely challenging. I'm not going to lie about that. You're the boss, though. So it's pretty good that you're able to shift your schedule pretty easily now that they're, in the picture, and it still gives you time to be able to have that family time and things like that. So that's beautiful. It seems like you're creating a wonderful life, and it's coming to fruition after, working so hard and getting into everything for so long. It seems like everything's working out. So I'm super happy for you.
Thank you. I mean, that is really the reward of being an entrepreneur is
definitely,
like they say, entrepreneurs are the only ones who's willing to work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40 hours a week. Right? It's weird, but, and I, of course I work after they fall asleep as well. I sit until very late on my laptop, but, it's really, like you say, the flexibility, being allowed to sit and be, to do these things that really matter in life, but doesn't mean you can just completely tune out. You still have to but you're still in control, and that's really what matters.
Yes, exactly. And that's my mindset. I'm in this entrepreneur space, and I just want to, be in your space. I'm 3 years, almost 4 years in, so I got a little bit more time. But I think, like you said, I'm celebrating the small victories, and being able to have people like you on the podcast, is inspiring for me and helps me out. So very happy to have you here and join me today. I got one more question for you before we head out for our final thoughts. What 3 traits do you think are critical for entrepreneurial success, and how have they helped you?
Well, I would definitely say stubbornness and naivety. Those 2 are the first for sure for me. That being naive, meaning, just freaking go do it, even though it doesn't make sense. Don't let people tell you that this is not possible. Be realistic about it. Do your work, do your diligence, do everything. But don't let people just tell you. Don't let people who don't know you and don't know your business tell you about your business and you. That's really so. Be naive and then stubborn. Like, just don't give up right away. Of course, you got to be realistic. And at some point, maybe that idea didn't work out. You give up and you try something new. Like I've done that many times. So those 2 things for sure. And I would almost say that. I can't even come up with a third that's at least as important, because for me, those are really everything. And that will be different for other people, obviously. But I think those 2 are just like what really that boils down to.
I think that was powerfully said. I think we should leave it at that. That was amazing. I really appreciate you, Peter, for joining me today. To close this out, do you have any final words you want to give for the people? Any shout outs you would like to give? And of course, please tell them how they can find you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would just love to say thank you to my whole team, everyone who's behind me, who works at Telzio and the things I've done in the past. It's, no one can do it alone. Like, don't think you can do it alone. No one can do it alone. Actually, I would just to complete sidetrack here, but I work with a lot of big artists, big, really international names, and none of them are bad people. Everyone's really, really nice. And that's because you're not going to make it. And you're not going to get people behind you and help you, if you're not a nice person. And no one's going to do it alone. So if you don't have good people behind you, you're not going to make it. So, thank you to the whole team. And, go find me, look me up at peterschroeder.com or telzio.com, and we can always help you out if you have a business, that needs to get a little bit better phone service or texting or something. Hit us up. We have some cool people, helping businesses out, especially smaller business.
Yes. Well, I might be one of those ones that has an inquiry. So just, put me on the side, put me on the list. I'm going to hit you up. But if anyone else out there is interested and you are loving this guy, please go and check him out. Of course, the links will be in the description, but we have to say it for the audio people who forget to go to the description. But appreciate you so much. DJ turned CEO, Peter Schroeder. You were amazing. You're a beautiful human, and your success and everything is deserved for you. And I hope many, many more blessings and much more success. So
thank you so much.
Of course. And that's it for this episode of the Grown Up Podcast. Make sure you're staying safe and being kind out there. And that's it. We out of here. Hello, beautiful grown-up human being. Don't you touch that stop button just yet and exit out of here. We're not done, okay? I know I've had your attention for about an hour and 27 minutes now, but we're not done. We still have to highlight the Naturally On a Wave Spotlight Artist for this month. And as I recorded this episode a few days ago, and now I'm giving some final thoughts, every day is really a growth experience for me, and I am truly just learning about myself and coming into myself, my own beautiful grown-up human being experience. And every day I just become more and more sure of myself, sure of my path, sure of who I am. And when I listen back to the podcast episodes, I can hear such an unsure person. And now that I hear a sure person moving forward, it just really reinforces the growth that I know that I'm experiencing. And, it just feels really good to know that you're growing and to like kind of capture it audio wise throughout this time and, beyond, because this is something that I'm passionate about. I truly love podcasting. And so, it's just been a journey. It's been an experience. And so I appreciate you guys for joining me on this experience. And I hope you guys enjoyed the interview for today. And this has been a really long episode, but y'all already know I'm dropping one really good episode for y'all a month. So I just want to make sure I'm making it really good for you guys. And as long as I think that it's well and good and put together, then I think we're good. So I'm going to have Swayla, the Naturally on a Wave Spotlight artist for this month, take us out. And make sure y'all go check her out. The links will be in the description. The links will be in the description for Peter Schroeder as well. You guys go check him out. And of course, Grown Up Podcast website is in the description as well for you to check out all things Grown Up Podcast. Sign up for the email list so you can get those really dope personalized email newsletters monthly. And I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And Swayla, please take us out of here.
Said I'm leading the way now. I got nothing to say. Made my choice every day now. Taking feelings away. They don't know. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know. What 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 they don't know. They don't know. Turning haters to believers. Till they're coming when you see us. Turning haters to believers. Come my way, flowing my ones. Don't care for the past, it's gotta get done. I know what you said, enough is enough. Enough is enough. It was always too much. If you're ready, come and get me. There's no point in pretending. Your games that do not scare me. I've been around when no one's with me. My mind is amazing. The words they do not faze me. Said I'm leading the way now. I've got nothing to say. Made my choice every day now. To take your feelings away. They don't know. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they don't know. 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 You can't deny the truth that's in you. Deny your feelings and they will come through. Just like your ego and your back on you. Cold as a brick, don't even know you. You can't deny the truth that's in you. Come question me, my vibe is so true. Judging on me, no, you're the main fool. You're the main fool. Right waiting on you, so baby, try not to.